My name is James MacMillan. I'm a composer mainly, but I do lots of other little things on the side just to spice up my life a bit, including conducting not just my own music but lots of my colleagues' music, living and dead. As a younger composer, I was always thinking, will I ever write an opera? What would my first opera be? I was looking at Greco-Roman mythology, biblical stories, I suppose. But then along came this modern play by Joe Clifford quite a long time ago in the late 80s, which wasn't Greco-Roman or scriptural, but had the elements of the great archetypal ancient myths about it. So it ticked so many boxes. There was an element of the universal and the ancient about it, but it was a modern play. The human drama was timeless. It could have taken place in modern times, and in fact the new production will more or less suggest that. But of course it could take place any time in the past. So it was for those reasons that I was drawn to Inés de Castro. But ever since then, I've been thinking about revisiting it in some way. I've written other operas since then. I've had a lifetime of thinking about music and drama, and there were always things that I wanted to come back to in some way and maybe sort out if the piece was to be done again, and I've had a chance to do that. Scottish Opera came to me and talked about a revival of Inés de Castro, the idea of me being involved as music director and taking rehearsals and performances was suggested, and I thought it was a great idea, and I'm sure, because I know many of the people here in Scottish Opera, that I'll enjoy it immensely this time round as well. There's a kind of creative forgetting with a composer, that once he puts the double bar at the end of a piece, he does forget everything. The structures just dissolve mentally, psychologically, because you have to turn your mind to something else, the new piece, the next stage. And so you live in a kind of dream state when you're composing, I think, in that you're kind of living through the whole work as if it's your world. And then that changes overnight, and you move to another world. So when a composer has to approach an existing score, it's like moving back in time or moving to a different place, and you try to get back into the mindset. I've had to relearn the score from scratch because I've forgotten it all in the 20 years that have passed. So I do feel as if I've come to it with fresh eyes, with a fresh view, with an interpreter's views other than or as well as a composer's view. I'm delighted that I'm being able to conduct the new production of Inés de Castro, and I'm especially looking forward to the rehearsal process, which begins very soon. I'll be working quite solidly all through December and most of January until first night, and these are long periods of time where you can really get to grips with music, get to know the musicians very well, working very closely with the directorial staff, seeing how the opera emerges from nothing to a real viable dramatic entity on stage. I was able to revisit the score in a fresh way. I tried to imagine what it would be like nowadays for a listener or a viewer to see and hear this opera. It wasn't major surgery that the opera required, it was minor surgery, one major extraction, but also more to do with getting words across and maybe redevising the way that the words were set from scene to scene. And I'm hoping that the work will speak to new audiences, regardless of their experience so far with what the opera world is all about.